Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hold On to Them podcast. Today's guest is the board chair for the AFSP Illinois chapter and also the team captain for the Illinois chapter of the Overnight Walk. Please welcome Philip Martinez.
And
Hi.
so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time to do this.
This is one of the things that I love to do for the organization whenever I get a chance. I'm what consider the anomaly. I'm the person who never met a camera or microphone I didn't like. So
Well, then you're perfect for this.
this is my wheelhouse. Yes.
Awesome. So you've participated in two Out of the Darkness overnight walks. What led you to first sign up for the first one that you did in 2006?
Sure. Yeah. Well, sadly, like a lot of folks, it was the loss of a loved one. On March 23rd, 2004, my cousin Mark took his life.
Oh no. So,
And growing up, we were pretty close. They lived in the Quad Cities. We lived in Chicago, but cousins wise, every summer we were there, they were here. So it was like losing a brother, right? And I have a brother, but it was devastating. And at that time, I was fairly new in private practice in the area. So I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor here in Illinois, which is a master's level therapist. And I was completely floored, and I just felt so ill-equipped to comfort my family members, especially my aunt and uncle and cousins. It's like I'm a mental health professional. This is what I deal with. I should be able to handle this. And I was just completely overwhelmed myself.
of course, yeah.
So I started my own search for answers, for assistance, and came across AFSP, which at that time was just under about had been in existence for about 15, 16 years. So they had a good foothold in the ground, but they had just started growing, and the overnight walk in Chicago was their second ever event of that kind.
Oh, wow.
So when I saw, I read their literature, I love their website. I got a lot of support from what I saw from them. And then they were advertising we're having our second ever, fundraising overnight walk, which is a national event. Because even though AFSB has chapters across all 50 states, over 70, this is a national event that kind of all the chapters come together. So it's done at one location. Actually, we did it at two locations for a few years, but typically one major location. And so they were bringing it to Chicago for the second ever walk, which was a pretty big deal. Because we're talking New York, California, Texas, a lot of big spots, and they chose Chicago. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to walk in this thing. It's a 20-mile overnight walk.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to do this. And then they were looking for volunteers. And one of the volunteer groups they were looking for were mental health professionals. And I
Uh,
was like, this is what I'm here for.
yeah.
This is my calling. And so I connected, got together with them. I'll never forget that the first orientation group was held at the Field Museum here in Chicago, which if you've ever been, it's just this beautiful, iconic, historic location.
Oh, wow.
And then these just scads of groups of people. Like I said, it was their second ever walks. It was the only second time they're doing this, but they were so well organized. But it's a bunch of volunteers like myself who've experienced, loss to suicide or struggled with it themselves.
Yeah.
So it was very moving. It was very powerful. So I just kept finding more and more ways to get involved and to make a difference, and saw the impact that it had, like on my aunt and uncle, and kind of the hope. I always say you can never ease this pain, but and one of the things I frequently say is nobody, no amount of thoughts and prayers can ease or erase the tragedy of someone who knows someone who's been lost to suicide or has survived an attempt themselves.
Yeah.
But out of that darkness, out of that, we see so many people come forward to bring hope to others. So out of that tragedy comes hope for others that they don't even know. And one of the things I always say is that I will never ever forget where I was or what I was doing when I got the call about my cousin Mark. Fast forward 20 years later, October 1st, 2004, I get a call. My friend Brian had taken his life. Again, will never forget how I felt, where
Wow.
I was, and what I was doing. So I tell people that there's no amount of thoughts and prayers that can replace that memory, that grief, but out of that grief is born hope for others, hope in the work that we do in suicide prevention and spreading the message and bringing awareness so that one other family will never get that call.
Yeah.
And it makes a profound difference in what we do. And your work and you're spreading the message, you're doing this type of thing is like I say, everything counts towards that. And the other thing that I often remind people is there are a lot of suicide prevention groups out there, the Trevor Project, the Jed Foundation. We're not in competition. We're all in collaboration for the same goal, and that's to bring an end to suicide and bring
Yeah.
hope to all who are affected by it.
Yeah, that's really well said. I'm sorry for the loss of your cousin. I lost my dad when I was 6 to suicide, so that's why I do
Hmm.
everything I do. And I found the AFSP in 2015. I don't remember exactly how I found them, but I did and I saw it and I live right outside of Philadelphia, so that was the first walk I did
Okay.
and one of the ones I usually do every year. So, yeah. I love doing the walks. It really felt very therapeutic. The first one I did, it was like, oh
Hmm.
wow, we're all here for the same reason, the same cause, and it felt like really special.
I mean, it's seriously, it's like massive group therapy
Yeah.
for so many people. I can't tell you how many countless times I've heard it, the two overnights, and I've done a lot of that. We do the annual Chicagoland walks every year. But just the thing that was one of the very profound things that happened at that first walk was hearing somebody say, "This is the first time I've been able to talk out loud about the death of my loved one,
Wow.
or say their name, or be able to converse without feeling that stigma that was so often attached to losing someone to suicide or
Right.
suffering with depression or suicidal thoughts themselves." So to hear people have that freedom, that community, that wasn't just bringing hope, but it was bringing healing as well.
Yeah. And besides that one person saying that, is there another memory or moment that stands out to you with the first walk that you did?
That's an easy one for me. It was such a crazy night because back in the beginning, it was a 20-mile walk.
Yeah, that is
So
a lot.
it was a lot. But as I said, I was on the mental health team and we were mobile that first year.
Oh,
So we
wow.
basically had a minivan. And I can't remember how many rest stops we had along the route, but we would right ahead of the walkers, be there for the majority of the walkers to go through. They would go through, we'd drive on to the next site. So all night we're driving from site to site. So again, so many profound memories, but the one that always sticks with me, I'm sure you're familiar with the luminarias.
Yes. Hmm.
And I didn't know what those were. So it's like, oh, they're like these little bags, kind of lunch-sized bags, and put a little weight sand in there and a votive candle, and then you write a message, for whatever you're doing. So
Yeah.
everyone at that first walk had the opportunity to do a luminaria. When we came back, we were able to walk down the last about half mile of the path to get to the closing ceremony. For over a quarter mile, on each side of the path, every inch was covered by luminarias dedicated to loved ones that were people. I can't even think about it without getting emotional.
Oh, yeah.
It was so profound to see so many lives and so many people coming together to support one another and to honor their lost loved ones. It's so powerful. We got our part of our welcome packet for the volunteers this year was our T-shirt, which is hanging behind me over here,
Yeah.
and a luminaria bag that we can prepare in advance for the
Yeah.
walk.
That's really special. It has been on my bucket list to do a walk for years and I haven't been able to. And I was really planning to do it this year, but I'm a dance instructor and it ended up falling on recital weekend, so I can't
Oh, of
go.
course.
But I'm hoping that next year it works out. I know it's in a different city every year, so I'm like, maybe
Right.
it'll be in Philadelphia next year. Who knows?
You
So,
never know.
yeah, I'm trying to stay hopeful.
I mean, this is the first time it's been back to Chicago since 2009. And we
Wow.
we had three walks, 2006, 2007, and 2009. Three walks in Chicago. I was at the 2006 and 2009 walks. In fact, ironically, I just came across my T-shirts the other day from those two walks that have been sitting around for, 17, 18 years. And glad to say that they're way bigger and I'm better. Anyway, um, but just the idea that it had not been back in Chicago was astounding to me. So I've been volunteering since 2005.
Wow.
And I joined the board of the Illinois chapter in 2019. I became board chair about 3 years ago. And the one thing I said that I wanted to do, that I wanted to see happen on my watch, was to get the overnight walk back to Chicago.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe, like, I really was dumbfounded why we hadn't. We came close. I think it was 2017. And then at the last minute, some things with the city didn't work out. So they
Um,
literally backed out, like a last minute thing. And I'd like to take more responsibility. But basically, what I would do when we would have our national conference every year is I would go and I would talk to the CEO and the COO and the chief medical director. I say, hey, we really need to get the walk back in Chicago. I was surprised to get the email a couple of months ago that says, hey, mark your calendars. And it was like a general email. Like, I hadn't heard anything about it because it was done at the national level.
oh,
And
wow.
so I can't tell you how excited I was to see them announce the Chicago, or the overnight walk back in Chicago next month.
Yeah.
It was just, like I said, I feel like I just put it out in the universe and the universe responded.
That's amazing and so exciting. So, when you did the walk in 2009, how was that experience compared to the first walk you did in 2006?
It was still very big. It was different in that I was still a mental health temp volunteer, but we were kind of stable. We didn't move. We were at the opening closing ceremony site all night,
Oh,
so we
wow.
didn't have the we had the opportunity. If somebody was in crisis, we had cars available. We had transportation. So if we needed to jump out to various sites, that we were able to do that. We did have people do that through the night. We had people that had needed to go back to the hotel. So we did kind of did those things. But I mean, really what we're there for is to support people in that environment, that where it can become easily overwhelming to them. So it
Okay.
was a little different in that I didn't get as much of the feel as I did for the walkers, but then it was like it was like a before and after picture. I saw them all at opening ceremony, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then when they're walking back in at dawn, it's just like a totally different group. But that's what's so special, out of the darkness, coming to the closing ceremony, and the sun's just rising, and it's just so powerfully moving because the whole theme of out of the darkness is bringing suicide awareness, depression awareness out of the darkness and into the light where people could speak of it freely. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I say invariably, and I'm going to say it now in every interview I do, is one of the greatest fallacies that was ever purported was that talking to someone about suicide will put the idea in their mind and maybe lead them to act on it, where all the research has shown us the exact opposite to be true. Talking to someone directly about suicide greatly decreases the chances of their acting on it. We know that to be true. And even further, I tell people you need to be very direct. When you ask somebody who's struggling or maybe contemplating, are you thinking of hurting yourself? They're not. They're thinking of ending the pain.
Yeah.
So in their mind, it can register as, no, I'm not thinking of hurting myself. I'm thinking of just getting it, ending the pain.
Hmm.
So I encourage people, as difficult, as awkward, as uncomfortable as it might be, ask directly, are you thinking of taking your life? Are you thinking of killing yourself? Most often people will answer honestly, and then we can take steps to get them the help and support that they need.
Yeah. Talking is the first step and being very direct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of our big PSAs that came out a couple years ago, Talk Away the Dark, which you can
Yes.
still find on YouTube.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the whole point. And Seize the Awkward was one of my other favorite PSAs that came out in the last couple of years, which was geared primarily toward young people, toward adolescents, youth, because that's one of the populations that's been hit the hardest over the years. But Seize the Awkward encourages everyone, but teens, to seize that awkward feeling or that awkward moment when you want to ask somebody, are you thinking of killing yourself? Or are even the simple question of, are you struggling? Are you okay? Seize that awkward moment because it could make a life-changing difference in theirs and your life too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For someone who has never done the overnight walk, how would you describe the atmosphere?
It is so warm and welcoming. I even encourage people. We have people who show up there alone, who want to walk for a loved one, but literally just come alone.
Mm-hmm.
We have walk partners that are available. So we're looking for people like that. We don't
Oh,
want anybody to be alone. We
yeah.
want that to be a community feeling because it's so, like I said before, the stigmatization attached to suicide loss causes people to withdraw, to isolate, to be alone. And so we want them to see that, everyone to see that we are not alone. You are not alone. We are here to support you. We never push ourselves on anyone. We always very gently approach people. But when you say the environment, like, and I know I said it like twice already, it's an environment of healing and hope for people. It is sad, of course. It's a fraternity that no one wants to belong to. We're
Mm-hmm.
brought together by a shared tragedy, but we don't want to focus on the grief. We know grief is part of it, so we don't deny it. Like I said, we have the mental health tent. We have walk uh, allies. We have supporters there to address anyone who may be feeling overwhelmed or regretting their decision to show up, whatever it might be. But we want them to know whatever you're there for, it's okay. And if you need to step away, if you need to leave, it's okay.
And what makes the overnight different from other fundraising walks that the AFSP does?
The magnitude. Uh, like the Chicagoland walk, which is, I think, is fairly much a model of the over 400 walks, community and campus walks that go on in the country, just through AFSP. It is typically much smaller in scale. For example, I think ours is a 3K, might be a
Okay.
5K. Again, I don't usually walk it. I'm usually at the other end, but it's a very short, and it's done along Chicago's lakefront here, Montrose Harbor. It's a beautiful location. You've got the cityscape on one side, you've got the lakefront on the other side, and it's a very casual atmosphere. We do it on a Saturday morning. Um, We've been very lucky with the weather, although sometimes it can be rainy, sometimes it can be cold. It is Chicago. And a lot of times we do it in September. We're doing it a little later this year. October 3rd is
Okay.
going to be our walk this year. So it's a much shorter distance. Still a lot of people, though. We had about 7,000 people show up at Montrose Harbor uh,
Wow.
this past September, which was our largest one yet. And our one of the reasons that astounds me is we are one of the larger. Well, financially, we've been the largest chapter walk for the past 16 years.
Wow.
And people, like, when we go show up at the national conference, people are always buzzing around us saying, "What are you doing, Chicago? What is it different?" We're the only walk to ever exceed the $1 million mark,
Wow.
and we did that again this past year.
That's
Which
incredible.
is our first time post COVID. Yeah, thank you. No, and when I say team effort, that's an understatement. We do have some full-time staff in Illinois, but AFSP, as you know, is made primarily of volunteers.
Hmm.
We have, I think, nearly 300 volunteers throughout the state, and,
Wow.
and we've got it covered from Chicago to the Quad Cities to the southern tip of Illinois, all the way up to the Wisconsin border. But yeah, so the Chicagoland Walk, it's just been hugely successful, and we're very, proud of that fact, and that to be able to put that back into the community because what allows us to do things AFSP does, which is education, research, and advocacy. And those are the three of the main pillars, and supporting survivors of suicide. Um, by connecting them with other survivors. And all of those services I just mentioned are completely free of charge. We will send speakers throughout the state. Any group that you can put together, we will send somebody out to do a talk. We'll specialize the talks. One of the big ones that we just unveiled this past year was the construction and extraction talk. We have something called the Construction Hike for Hope, which the construction and extraction industry is currently the number one profession with the highest um, percent of suicide for any profession right now.
Wow.
Blew my mind when I heard that. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? When you understand, when you hear about it, about the stress that they're under, about especially these extraction workers being away from family for months on end, crazy schedules, crazy deadlines, substance. I mean, all of the check marks, but in that industry, it seems to have grown. So AFSP actually was reached out by Bethel Industries, a big construction national firm, to create something. And one of the things that came out of it was Hike for Hope, which is dedicated to everyone in the construction industry and any of the auxiliary industries, such as electricians, plumbers, landscapers, anyone that has anything to do with construction. So being able to raise those funds to make things like that happen, and like I said, everything free of charge.
Wow. That's so incredible. So, what inspired you to become the Illinois chapter team captain for the overnight walk?
Well, I don't want to say I was voluntold. I was asked. I mean, they asked me, and it was really because of my past experience, uh, being a part of the two of the last three overnight walks here in Chicago,
Hmm.
and I do have a passion. Like I said, it was always well known when I became board chair that this is the thing that I wanted to do. So I think when it came down to picking a team captain, it was like, well, like Phil's the natural choice if he wants to do it. So it was an easy pick for me. When they asked me, I didn't hesitate. I said, "Of course I will." And right now we've got about, I think, 30 team members, and it seems like we're getting more every day.
Oh, that's great. And there is a lot of training for the walk because it's over 16 miles. So, what does that training plan
It
look
is.
like?
A lot of the groups on their own volition. We did have a training walk of gatherers, and honestly, I was not able to make it myself, so I'm not sure how many where they did. It was a training walk downtown Chicago on the lakefront, and it was members of our running team. We have a big team that runs the Chicago Marathon each year. One of our again. Our Chicagoland Walk is the number one fundraising event in the foundation. Our running team is the number two.
Wow.
They just do an amazing job. In fact, their goal this year for the running team is 1 million,
Wow.
which
Just for the run.
just for the run. Yeah, last year between the two, the overnight and or not, excuse me, the Chicagoland Walk and the running team, we did the Illinois chapter raised over 2 million last year. So we're planning on exceeding that this year.
Amazing. That,
Yeah, like I said, we just have a wonderful response in Illinois, and I know a lot of great states. Every bit helps. Like I said earlier, this is not a competition. You know, it's not AFSP Illinois, it's AFSP period. We're
yeah.
doing it for the entire foundation, which, like I said, crosses all 50 states.
Yeah. And what does being a team captain for this walk actually involve behind the scenes?
Some organization, which I've had a ton of help from some of our full-time staff, of just coordinating who's going to be at the tent, where we're going to meet. Are there other volunteer opportunities? Because a lot of the team members will be walking, but some of them will also be volunteering at various stations wherever it might be needed. So it might be route pickup, route follow-up. It could be the medical tent, it could be transportation. I mean, there's lots of opportunities to volunteer. So helping people find, where best. And basically, honestly, Erin, it's pointing finger. It's like, okay, talk to them, email them. This is who you connect with. This is what you want to do. Here's who's here you call. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of facilitating, um, and just spreading the word or spreading the knowledge, I should say.
And what has been the most rewarding part of leading the team?
Well, like, fortunately, I didn't have the chance to meet, but I know it's going to be when I get to meet everybody. I get to meet people. I get to put names to faces to names that, I constantly am emailing back and forth with people. But everything's very virtual right now. So it will be, getting a chance to meet people and, encourage and thank them personally for their support and for their devotion to the cause.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who is considering signing up for the first time?
Do it. Uh, do it. And if you can, don't do it alone. Find a friend, a colleague, a loved one, someone else who knew the person that you might be coming to support or remember or honor. But don't be afraid. Like I said, it's a very warm and welcoming environment. Um, well, I say, and they are fundraisers, so there is some expectation for some of the events. The Chicagoland, like there is not any fee or any funds that are expected. I say that's kind of almost like the secondary. It's more about the community, but also encouraging that we can't make this happen unless we're doing the fundraising. But we don't want
Right.
anybody to feel obligated to like, I have to raise money to attend this thing. We want everybody to have the freedom to come out. We have scholarships available for folks in groups because the overnight walk does have an expectation, a registration where most of the community and all the campus walks do not. So it's a little bit different that in that way. But
Right.
just coming back to it's a place where you will feel heard, where you will feel loved, where you will feel supported, and there is no need to isolate or shy away from this topic or this subject.
And if there's someone that doesn't have a friend that's going to do it with them, what advice would you have for them showing up alone?
Look for team members. Like I said, we have walk partners that are going to be available. People who are going to be partnered other with other people or creating their own small groups, or even maybe volunteer. Be pass out T-shirts, hand out water. Things of that nature. We will always find activity for anyone who wants to participate. But just being in the environment, like I said, if you're doing it alone, that's okay. We don't want to say you can't or that's where we discourage that, not in any sense. Um, but again, it's kind of getting away from that isolation, the destigmatizing part of this, to help people know that it's okay to be in community with like-minded folks, even under these circumstances.
And are there other ways people can be involved with the walk if they're nervous about fundraising or walking the long distance?
Sure. There, and don't quote me on this, but we have had like virtual participation where well, I believe the opening and closing ceremonies will be shown streamed live. As far as the walk, I don't know if they'll be having updates. So, but virtually is always a way to do it. Helping support by spreading the word. Sending out on social media or posting. We have yard signs that we send out to people. In fact, I usually have one in front of my office, in front of my home, in front of my neighbor's home. So, just getting the word out there. We have a bunch of materials that people can place in different businesses. So, cards or like post-sized cards or business-sized cards, encouraging people to attend the walk or be a participant. So, like I said, fundraising, that's always a part or an option for folks, but outside of that, there are so many other ways to help support the community, get the message out there so that people have that opportunity to make that choice of whether or not they want to be there or not.
And I think that's it for all my questions. Is there anything else you wanted to mention that I didn't touch on?
Um, you did a pretty good job. But like I said, it really is, we don't expect people to be happy to be there. Like we all have our own struggles and you never know what someone else is going through. And
Right.
so often, people walk around in their place of business and there could be somebody who works in the station next to them that may have experienced something but doesn't talk about it. And so many of us, I have my own. I don't know if you could see that, my own semicolon tattoo. And I'm not
Uh,
sure if you're familiar with the semicolon
yeah.
program. So, I can't tell you how many times I've connected with people over that. So just, like, we do this for others, but we also do it for ourselves. because like I said, it's the healing that happens within that we can share that hope and honesty with others. Yeah, thank you so much. And the one, the big one would be the overnight.org is the website for the overnight walk. So it's
Okay.
just the overnight, one word, .org.
And people can still sign up right now.
They can walk up and sign up, but yeah, they can sign up right
Okay.
now all the way up until the walk date, which is June 13th.
Okay. Incredible. Well, thank you
Uh,
so much. I learned so much and I'm excited for my listeners to listen and learn about it too. Like this was so exciting. Thank you.
well, thank you, Erin. Again, thank you for your support and all you do to spread the word out there. And my condolences on the loss of your dad, but this really does honor all the people that we've lost and loved.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Our website is holdontildawn.com and our email is holdontildawn@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at holdontildawn and on Facebook at Hold On Till Dawn Benefit Concert. See you next time.